Do you know what tripped me up? Is as I was saying it, I was sitting over here looking at our B-roll that we're rolling here, man. And I was looking at, yeah, man.
Let's get straight into it. There is, I'm not gonna say a dark cloud because the cloud is not dark. It is when someone passes, someone was just such an incredible person, someone who's created such a great body of work, someone you admire, someone who had like such a light that surrounded them. It's as if you don't want to dwell in the loss as much as you want to celebrate what they were able to achieve during the time that they were here.
Yeah.
I think that is the case with Chadwick Boseman. At least that's the case for me.
Yeah.
Last night, August 28th, it was around 10:45 p.m. that I first saw the news that Chadwick Boseman had passed away due to colon cancer at the age of 43.
Yeah.
And I think you were the first person I texted.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you see the news about Chadwick? And then I texted like the group chat, and then I like searched a bunch of times on Google to see like if this thing was real. And then like, first you want to dismiss it. And this goes back to when we were doing the live taping of our podcast, and we got the news. I got the news that Kobe Bryant and Gigi Bryant had passed away in that helicopter crash. My initial response was like, nah, this is not real. Kobe can survive a helicopter crash. It's not real. That was the same response a few of the boys had in the group chat. You want to dismiss it. You don't want to believe it. This thing was very real.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to think about, kind of like what I would say about it. Cause obviously we knew since last night. And so, we knew we were taping the show today. So obviously we had to talk about it. I still don't know what the fuck to say, man.
What do you say?
And everybody kind of goes to, this is just a part of like 2020. And, this is just, a part of the shitty year that this is. But, this one, I think hit a little differently. And the reason why I say it did, it was like, I remember when Anthony Bourdain passed, and it was just like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Here's a dude.
And his passing was tragic.
It was tragic, for on a number of different levels. But the reason why I say that this hit a little different, man, is because, in Chadwick Boseman, of course we get the, he was T'Challa to us, he plays
Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall.
He had Jackie Robinson.
All of these classic roles, that he played of people who are iconic in our history.
And he put that on his
black
back
people
too.
And he put it on his back, and he took it in stride too. He played James Brown, but I think the reason why this hit a little differently for me is because in him, I see me. Here's this.
Yeah, you guys look alike too.
Fair enough. He's a handsome. He's a handsome.
No, it's
guy.
mostly the facial hair.
But he, was this young, dude who seemed like he was so like kind of soft spoken, and he was very sort of like, if you were in a room with him, it seems like he wouldn't really like, okay, like, there's that dude over there. He seems like a pretty chill dude. You know what I mean? Like he seems like a very quiet dude. I've watched a bunch of like Breakfast Club interviews with him. And when you have somebody who you kind of like identify with, you can be like, okay, like, this dude's he's not making splashy headlines or anything like that. He's just going about his life. He's just doing his thing. And it felt like he just came into his own, in this Black Panther role, and
which is not what he intended. He was a fine arts in directing major at Howard University. So being a movie star is not what he intended.
Yeah. And so yeah, anyways, like when you have somebody like that, man, and then they just go just like that, it reminds you we're all so very fucking mortal, man. And to have it be something like cancer, and what I still can't wrap my head around, dude, like what I genuinely can't wrap my head around, he's known since 2016 that he was battling stage 4 cancer.
So that means
2016.
That means, just to give you guys a bit of perspective, so during that time, he filmed Captain America Civil War, he filmed Marshall, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, 21 Bridges, The Five Bloods, and they were in the process. I think Ma Rainey's Black Bottom recently just completed production in 2020, which Netflix decided to postpone due to his passing. So he's done 4 or 5 blockbuster films during that battling stage 4 cancer. So during the filming of Black Panther, he was battling stage 4 cancer.
Dude, I don't even know where to fucking put that, man. I don't know what kind of strength that fucking takes to go through chemotherapy. Just fuck even chemotherapy for a second. Just even the thought of even having stage 4 cancer. At that point, it's basically terminal. You're like, it's more or less a wrap, right?
It's a matter of time at that point.
Exactly. But to then keep doing your work and to do it with a smile on your face, go to interviews. Now I think back to all those interviews I watched them in, all the press tours and everything. And you're just like, the entire time this dude's
never once said a word about it. He didn't ask for you to pity him. He didn't ask for empathy. He was just like, look at my body of work.
Till the very end, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. I can't imagine the strength that it takes to do that. I can't imagine the will that it takes to do that. Man, I don't know. I'm still trying to find the fucking words, man. You know, and it isn't because he just played Black Panther, man. It's because he seemed like a dude. He seemed like a really genuine guy. Like he just seemed like a very genuine person.
I mean, he's a Howard University man. You know, listen, I didn't go to Howard, but like, you know, I've got a lot of friends who went to Howard. There's a certain like kind of like energy you have, you know, being from Howard University here in Washington, D.C., just down the road. He always had that like, and he's not from Washington, D.C., but I think he's from South Carolina, but he always had that like energy to him where it's like humble beginnings. I've ascended to a level of success, but I know my beginnings were humble and they've remained humble.
Yeah.
Despite all of the films that he's done that I love. So Black Panther was my favorite character that he played, but my favorite film that he was in was Marshall.
Yeah.
You know, at no point in time did he let success, the people that he'd come to know, define who he was as a person or an actor.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I don't know if I have too much more to say about it other than, you know, he will be very, very sorely missed, man. And this one's gonna haunt us for quite some time. Forget it, the fact that it's fucking 2020. Who gives a shit? Like, yeah, this is just gonna stay. At least with me, it's gonna stay with me for a while. I'm gonna have to like meditate on this one because, you know, I didn't know him clearly. I didn't know him personally or anything like that. And usually I always feel conflicted when it's like a, you know, a star that passes because it's like, I don't know them, you know, they're just the person that I watch on a screen, you know, I've never interacted with them. So it's like, who am I to like, you know, go hysterical and start shedding all these tears when I didn't really actually know them as a person. Like, how am I going to grieve any more for them than literally anybody else that I see or hear that passes away? But this one just makes me think, man, a lot about just like, yo, like I remember when Kobe passed and I go back sometimes and I just watch that video of us, you know, as it was happening live and us trying to like process it. I'll stick to the same thing that I said then, man. It's just like, it's all precious, man. Like we don't realize just how quickly all this shit can like fucking just go away like in an instant, man. And so, you know, as I think a lot of people are saying nowadays, man, rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. You will be sorely fucking missed, man. And yeah, this one's going to it's going to sting for a while.
Yeah.
And
to anyone who has not or is not familiar with his body of work, I mean, if you watch any 3 or 4 films that he's done, aside from obviously the Black Panther movie, I mean, go watch Marshall, go watch The Five Bloods, and go watch 42, Jackie Robinson film. You watch those 3 films and you'll fully understand the what he was able to achieve in his 43 years, as well as his potential in that time. So yeah, that's I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So like I said, yeah, rest in power, Chadwick Boseman, man. You will be missed. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to do the rest of the show based on that, but yeah, we will.
Still we persist.
Still we persist. As
is that what you is that? Did I steal it from you?
That's always my phrase.
It sounds better when I say it.
All right, if you say so.
Yeah, I've got a deeper register. It's sexier.
A hard transition, I guess.
Yeah, listen, I had to try.
Yeah, let's move forward here. So bear with me while I change some of these graphics around. But yeah,
you know, the first thing I did last night, you know, as you get us ready to roll on.
Yeah.
I went back. I thought about like what was his like first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I watched Civil War last night. And then today I watched Black Panther. Some of the hardest entrances into like any scene were his. So his first entrance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Black Panther was in Civil War. Remember the scene where where Bucky, people were searching for Bucky because they thought as a Winter Soldier he had bombed the UN meeting, and which killed T'Challa's father, T'Chaka.
Yeah.
And then Cap went to his apartment and he was trying to warn Bucky. He was like, "Hey Bucky, they're coming for you. Like, let's get out of here." And then Bucky jumped through the window on the roof of the other building. He was like running away. And then as Bucky's running, you see the shadow of like the Black Panther jumping from the roof on top of him.
Yeah.
And that was his like first introduction to Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then like Falcon is flying up ahead. And
I remember watching that in theaters and everybody losing their minds.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Holy shit. Cause it was like one of those characters that like nobody really knew that much about Black Panther, but suddenly like everybody wanted to know everything about Black Panther because it was just so fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
And to see him link up with Ryan Coogler, for the actual film and how successful that film was and how much of a movement that film was, you know, as far as, it very much literally put Wakanda on the map, you know? And then dude.
Yeah, so not to spend more time on it, but I went back and I watched Civil War first instead of Black Panther because I wanted to like see the first introduction again, that first scene where he's chasing the Winter Soldier and then a chase scene underneath the bridge in London. Definitely a moment. So you guys should definitely check that out.
Yeah. Like I said, it's going to be a little tough to proceed with the podcast after that, but I guess, the show must go on nonetheless. And yeah, the last thing I'll say about everything is, do whatever you got to do now because you don't fucking know. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen the next day. So if it's that you need to tell somebody you love them, tell them you love them. If it's that you need to go work on that project you've been meaning to work on that project. If it's that you've been meaning to take that trip you've been meaning to take the fucking trip, because none of this is fucking guaranteed. It's all random how all this shit happens, there seems not to be, and again, I don't want to extend this any further than it needs to go, but when he passed, like the first thing that popped into my mind was the whole idea of existentialism, none of this, any of this really actually fucking mean anything. Like, is there any rhythm or rhyme to any of it, or is it just all just fucking just weird ass things fucking happening, and we're just here for the fucking ride? That's literally the first thought I had was, what is the point? Like, what is the lesson learned here? Like, what is the thing we're supposed to really take away from this is like a hard lesson? Like, for me, I don't
see,
know.
This becomes a religious conversation where we can spend time here. For me, it's like when people try to look for a lesson in things that happen, it's just like, if you look for a lesson in his death, you have to look for a lesson in like every death that happens, right? And then it's like, fuck, and then how many people die a day? Is there a lesson in some people's lives and not other people's lives? So I think it's less about like what is the lesson here, and it's more about what you do with your time. Sometimes you know how much time you have, right? Like, you live a long life. You're like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm strong. I'm going to live about 60, 70 years or whatever. Sometimes you don't know how much time you have. Or in his case, he had stage 4 colon cancer. So I think he knew he had a clock. Some people don't. Some people go too soon. Some people go too early. Just value your time, make use of your time. You don't have to become a millionaire to have used your time wisely. You could just be a good father, a good husband, a good friend. That's how you use your time wisely. So if you learn any lesson from this, it's just use your time wisely. Starting right now, if you haven't been more conscious or aware of that.
Yeah. And look, again, very, very last thing. When I was reading an article from the New York Times on, that they published on him. And what they mentioned was that he was actually a serious basketball player before he got into either acting or storytelling. But it was through, ironically enough, a friend of his who was shot and killed that he decided to start storytelling, and so, that's one thing that I can definitely, that I think that's part of the reason why I kind of connect, why this kind of hits me strangely is because, we have his stories. We can see his face. We can turn on 42. We can turn on Black Panther. We can turn on Marshall. We can turn on all those movies and still see his face, so forever in history, he's still going to be there, in those films, and we can always see that. And I think that's just the beauty of storytelling, is that it's everlasting.